And welcome back to TNSRadio.com. The time is now 11 on the button. Darrell O'Dee's had to head off, and so has Garrett. I'm still online here. Vincent here, by the way. I'm still online with Andy and Chris. Chris, how are you doing, mate? Can you hear me okay?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well, because I'm speaking through headphones at the moment.
Yeah, we can hear you. It's coming through okay.
Excellent.
So, Chris, you had a couple of comments you wanted to make, firstly, on some of the information that the guys have said so far, and particularly Darrell and Gareth.
Sure, I agree that the best response really that we can do is to stop feeding the Zionist machine and stop paying our taxes and whatever else we can do lawfully to stop them in their process, really. And
are you aware that they will tell you that, well, it's not lawful to stop paying anything, because if everybody stops paying, they'll tell you, well, the whole system will collapse, and therefore law and disorder, or, well, lawlessness and disorder will come across the land.
Sure, but with regards to council tax, I mean, there is no contract. So the issue there is that we can't hold them accountable for anything. If they don't come and collect our rubbish on a Tuesday, or rather clean our cages out on a Tuesday, we can't hold them accountable at all. So part of this process is to gain power back to the people so that we have got a bit more of a say.
But would you not agree, perhaps, and I'm sure some of the other guys will agree with this as well, that unless we actually have a fiscal system in place to replace the existing system and to have it ready, and in fact probably to start using it in advance before the other system collapses, that
Sure.
would be prudent and wise.
Sure, I do agree. I think we do need an alternative governance system in place. We can't just obviously all start cooperating with the system. It's a gradual process. I think this awakening process doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey that each of us take at different stages and different speeds.
Sure, but do you not? What I have found is a lot of people out there are considering, as you say, not paying. Sorry, Andy, can you just mute for a second, mate, if you're going to be clattering around?
Oh shit! Sorry, mate.
Okay. If we're going to be, if people are going to decide to literally drop the system, to let go mortgages, I mean, mortgages alone, if everybody stopped paying mortgages, or even a very large portion of people, the system will collapse.
Sure.
And that will mean, for example, that there's a lot of old age pensioners sitting at home who will suddenly have no money. They won't have access to food, water, heat, possibly home care. I mean, literally people could die. Now, what I'm saying...
Right. I mean, they're the sort of things we need to consider. And obviously, my viewpoint is the system is going to collapse, regardless of what we do, really. It's designed to collapse.
Quite possibly.
The question is, what sort of timescale are we talking? Is this going to happen within the next few months or next couple of years, perhaps?
Absolutely, and that's why I make the point.
But sure, the reason why we're all fighting is because of the fact that there are lots of people that are struggling to even feed themselves in this current system, and that's worldwide, not just in the UK or Ireland.
But would you also agree, for example, I mean, we have Mike Montagna, who does a show here on Saturday nights, a mathematically perfect economy, and when a mathematically perfect economy is put into place, interest is obliterated. The people still have money. It's actually it becomes your money. We still have a monetary system, and we need a law system to replace their so-called legal system, and the only lawful system that can operate is a system based on restitution and actually going and getting the actual criminals that are hurting people.
That's right, harm or loss.
Absolutely.
Common law.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
that does stand in this country at present.
Well, even common law, in my mind, has some problems, because common law does have the death penalty, for example.
Sure.
So I think the death penalty would have to be removed, because the death penalty was designed by the barons to get rid of the peasants as they felt the need. And I don't think a lot of people have looked into common law enough to realise that...
it wasn't written for... Magna Carta wasn't written for us, that's for sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
But there was an ancient law system on the land known as England, Wales and Scotland and Ireland and half of France, if not all of France, right down into Italy, and it was all very similar. It was all very similar to the ancient Brehon law, which is basically find a resolution. So in other words, if there's a problem between two men, a third man finds a resolution. So the third man judges the situation, not the men. And what's happened is we've allowed these men to judge us, and they're not supposed to be judging us. They're supposed to be judging the situation so we can find a remedy. And instead what they're doing is they're pitching one of us against the other. And nobody is getting remedy except them. They get paid. So once a system
That's
of
right,
law...
it's the old divide and conquer, isn't it?
Well, it's not even that. It's worse than that. It's divide, make it look like you're solving a problem, then turn the two parties against one another, and we get to take pick the cherry off the tree while they're still fighting. It's even worse than divide and conquer. It's actually quite nasty. But so in other words, if we have a mathematically perfected economy, which exists, Mike Montaigne's mathematically perfected economy, a system of law based on restitution, actually finding a solution. That's easily done as well.
Yeah.
And then the last but final piece to the puzzle is a political system, because let's face it, we are going to need a government of sorts to regulate
that's right. I mean,
roads,
I work closely with
schools.
The British Constitution Group, and I think democracy is very important in this country.
Well, again, I mean, even the word democracy, I don't think people have fully worked through the word democracy. I mean, I've basically been studying all the political systems. And Ireland, a lot of people now on the radio now know, Ireland, when it was set up after the 1916 rising in Ireland, in the 32 county election in Vaughan's Hotel, 1918, 32 county sovereign republic was set up. Now, most people don't seem to know exactly what a republic is, and most people don't seem to know exactly what a democracy is. So I developed a real simple way of explaining it, and I'll do so now if you don't mind. It only takes a couple of minutes.
No, go ahead.
So would you agree, for example, that if you have, I call it 100-man island. So think of a 10 by 10 number square that you used to use in school when you were a kid. And let's imagine that's 100-man island, and there's 100 men living on it, one in each square.
Yep.
In a democracy, a true democracy, if 51 of those men vote, then it's law for 100.
Yep.
In the democracy that exists in most countries at the moment, I call it a commercial democracy, where even if only 10 of those men show up to vote, if 6 vote in favour out of the 100, and only 10 showed up to vote, it's law for everybody. It's law for the 100. You then have what's known as a republic, whereby in a republic, two-thirds of the people must vote to pass a resolution, so that would be 67 men out of the 100, and it would turn into law for 100 men. And last but not least, then you have the commercial version of a republic, which is if 2/3 of 10 men vote, which is only an extra 1 out of the 10, that's only 7 men out of the 10 as opposed to 6 for a democracy. It's only 1 more for a republic under a commercial republic. It becomes law for the 100. Then the last one is a sovereign republic, whereby even if 99 of those men vote for something and 1 man votes no, it's law for the 99 and it's not law for him. And nobody will disagree. And that's called a voluntary society. That's voluntarism, whereas nobody can force their will onto anybody. And it's very easy to work. It's very easy to track. There is no, people can pay taxes if they want to, if they feel they want to pay a tax for a certain length of time into a process to build a road or a hospital locally to them from their produce.
If they feel like they want to benefit, if they want the benefits.
Absolutely, it's no problem. Also, though, once on 100-man island, if they do create any type of a government on 100-man island amongst themselves, and if that government from the 100 men, let's say there's 10 of them, if they go to an outside, to another 100-man island to borrow currency from them at interest and bring it back to their own land, that is equal to committing treason. And in fact, that meets the definition of treason, because those 10 men do not have the right to place the other 90 men into permanent bondage and financial enslavement and all their children forever, which is what these guys have done. I'm done.
Yes, I agree. It's absolutely the new world order at its worst, really. It's people need to wake up to this fact, and it's so unfortunate that we can't get people to realise what's really going on in this country. Can you hear me well enough?
I can hear you fine, yeah. In fact, I think, if anything, I'm a little low. Is my mic a little low? Guys,
I can hear you fine. No.
Okay, well, guys, let me know on the chat box there if I'm...
Well, the thing is, okay. Chris, I mean, people haven't felt the pinch yet, mate. You know, you've got like your working class, your brickies, your labourers, whatever, your road sweepers.
Well, sure, but
they're getting kicked up the arse, and then. So go, mate.
Do things really have to get that bad before people?
Well, they will, because you've got your middle class who they're not feeling the pinch, and then you've got your upper class who've got shitloads of money. They're not going to feel it until the pound really crashes. You know, when the pound crashes,
they're going to deny there's any sort of problem. You know, until it affects them. You know,
exactly, mate. Because they're sat there with their plasma screens. Yeah. And they're flipping BMWs. It's all fine for them.
Well, in fairness, Andy, I mean, I think everybody is starting to realise, even if you're sitting in front of your 50-inch plasma screen with your 2.5 kids in bed and your Ford Focus in the driveway, in your 3-bed semi-detached, people are still starting to see now what's happening. I mean, for example, in Ireland, I think in 2008 there were 60,000 employees in the banking sector alone. Now, from what's been talked about tonight on the radio, and I don't mean here, I mean in Ireland on the terrestrial mainstream media, and they're talking about bringing another bank in underneath the umbrella of state-owned, ergo the people must pay the debts. Now, however, they have been very careful to change the notion of the debt of the people of Ireland and other nations. They no longer call it national debt. They now call it, as we all know, sovereign debt. Now, at the same time, they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth, because these guys, while they will say, oh, the people are sovereign in Ireland, they never specify how come the people are sovereign, why are the people sovereign, when did that sovereignty begin, and then when did their supposed government obtain sovereignty, when did their sovereignty begin. They claim their sovereignty started in 1920, well, 22 is generally what they say, but that can't be the case here in Ireland, because 1922, Sir Státna Éireann, the Irish Free State, that was an English statute where the men entering into Dáil Éireann had to take an oath of allegiance to King George. That's not, you can't have sovereignty for the Irish people there. The sovereignty was established from the 32 county election in 1918 Vaughan's Hotel. So these guys are trying to ignore it. Now, apparently, the people and the ministers in Europe, when Ireland was joining up the so-called Lisbon Treaty, Ireland Incorporated, I'm speaking about here, they were asking them, do you have the sovereignty of the people? Have you found the source, and do you have it? And basically, I think what they did is, I think they said, yes, we do. And Europe has found out now that no, they don't, and they didn't, and they haven't had. So I think there's big problems afoot. And interestingly, we're now being told that the Queen is coming here, Barack Obama is coming here, the Dalai Lama is coming here, and on top of that, Prince Albert of Monaco is coming here. Now that's a very interesting eclectic mix of people, all heading towards little old Ireland very soon. And, you know, Ireland is, according to the mainstream media, we're all being crucified with debt and financial hardship. And yet, I mean, the security measures and the preparations for these visits alone will be horrendously expensive under their system. There's no flipping way we can actually afford any of it. I mean, according to the government, we can't even afford the roof over our own heads. So we have this ludicrous situation, and what's happening is that the government eventually, the so-called commercial government, eventually, folks, what they're going to do is they're going to say, if everybody says no, we're not going to pay our mortgages, they will start a program whereby they will say, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to call off all these court cases, and we don't want evictions. Sure, you know, we're not bad people. We'll try and help the people is what we'll do. So what we'll do is we'll make a new deal, and mark my words, folks, they're going to do this. They're going to make a new deal where they're going to say to you, you sign this form, the house is now ours, the government own your house, we'll forget about the back money that's due, and you pay us this nice new little easily affordable rent. And loads of people will find that really attractive. But what it will mean down the road, in a year or two, if you want your mate to come and do a bit of electrical work or plumbing work or any work like that at all in your house, you'll be told, no, you must have a government electrician, a government tradesman.
I reckon it'll be worse than that, Vin. I reckon it'll be...
no, that's exactly what's going to happen.
You take this microchip in your arm...
Well, I'm talking, look, before we even get near microchips or anything even like that, Andy, before we get near any of that, you will be told what you can and cannot do in your own home. If you commit any crime or any description, or if there's ever a report of domestic violence, your home will be kitted out with cameras. Your home will become your prison. They won't need to microchip you eventually. They might microchip you as well, but that's a small part of it, to be honest. That's a tiny, tiny part of it. They will be literally in your home eventually with loudspeaker systems telling you and instructing you like a child. You will not be able to change a light bulb. You might even have to put a credit in the bathroom door to get in just to take a dump. That's what's coming, mate, folks.
Listen, me and Roy were working on a building site today, and there's a little junior school just over the road, and they had all these nippers walking out, like little girls, sort of 6, 7 years old, girls and boys, and she's going, "Silence! Silence!" I said, "You stand in line." She goes, you know the meaning, the definition of silence. You damn well use it." And old Roy started whistling the animals walking two by two, you know, like the animals walking two by two, hurrah, hurrah. And this headmistress came out, and she went, "Oh, thank you for the cheerful tune." And my mate Roy said, "Oh, did you like it, did you?" And she just fucking raised her eyebrows at him like, you know, it's proper fucking Nazi stuff, mate. It's terrible. Look at these kids, they ring the bell and they say, "Right, Matthew, stand to attention. You should be in line. What are you doing not in line?" You know, it's proper like Nazi stuff. And they're just conditioning them, aren't they, for the next generation.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Oh, you know it, mate. I know you know it, but it's shocking when you see it. When you see it actually.
No, the point I'm making though here is Andy and Chris is, look, we know the system is. I mean, I'm amazed people can say, "Oh, it's fraud." Sure, it's fraud. The whole flipping thing was fraud. But let's be honest. I mean, I've known the system was fraud for. I mean, at 17, or was I 16? 16 or 17 when I read the first book that explained the whole system to me, and I realised, holy crap, the whole thing is fraud. I'm now 42. Okay, so what's that? 25 years. That's 25 years I've understood in my mind that I didn't know what to do about it, and I didn't know how to fix it, but I knew for a fact it was mathematically impossible. Mathematically impossible to solve the problem with the thinking inside the system. Now all the politicians are talking about fixing this problem from within. It's like trying to fix a burst balloon from the inside by sticking a hole in the far side to try and equate the pressure. It's so stupid. It just doesn't make sense. Now,
well, it's like in London. Sorry, mate.
No. Go ahead.
In London, you know, we all went up to London last week and had a good old jolly up, and everyone marched. But those 250,000 people, they weren't there off their own backs. They were there because the union told them to be there. And when we got to the speaker's corner, you got all these politicians up there saying that the government said they're going to solve the deficit by doing this. Well, they're bullshit. We're going to solve the deficit by doing this. And I was thinking, me and Roy were looking at each other saying, you can't solve the deficit because it's mathematically impossible.
Correct. And because of that, you see,
they were marching.
You can cut what you like. You can cut this, you can cut that. You will not solve that deficit because who's going to pay the interest? Where does the interest come from?
It can't be done.
It doesn't exist.
No, the only, I mean, that's, I mean, I don't like to use the expression too much, but it's true. It's like trying to pick up a piece of shit from the clean end.
Yeah.
But sorry, I just want to go back to Chris.
You print £1 billion and you want 1.1 billion back. Where are you going to get the 0.1 from? It doesn't exist.
Exactly. Sorry, Chris, can I just get back to you for a sec? Your situation tomorrow, Chris, what's happening there?
Well, I mean, I'm going to try a number of different approaches, really, in the court, and just sort of see where we stand with it all. I'm going to primarily start.
Sorry, just a quick button, Chris. I ran Chris through the Mr. T kind of style of things, then, with the are you addressing me? Have you got a claim against me? You know, civil or criminal, that kind of style.
Right.
Sure.
Only advice, obviously not. You know. No, sorry, Chris. Carry on, mate.
Yeah, sorry, Andy. Actually,
absolutely. That argument that you've given me earlier on today, that is something I've seriously considered, and I've put it on the top of my notes. Are you addressing me, sir? Have you a claim against me? Is it civil or criminal? Absolutely, and obviously I'll ask, the judge for their oath, but I'm also willing to...
No, give it to him, mate. Don't ask him. Give it to him.
Sorry, Andy. Andy, can you just mute for a sec while Chris is talking, because Chris is so low, I have to hire the volume up real high, and if you then talk, you're going to blast everybody on the radio.
Actually, mate, so I'll be back in 5.
Okay, well look, I'll pop you and I'll call you back in a few minutes, okay?
Yeah, pop me out the call, mate. Pop me out the call, that's no sweat.
Hello, can you still hear me?
There you go, Chris, now. That should be okay.
Excellent, okay. He's gone out for a cigarette, has he?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, well, yeah, effectively, I'm going to try I'm only a young lad myself. I've only been awake, as it were, for probably about a year now. So it's fairly new to me, I would say. But I understand what I'm doing is the right thing, and we need to try and get more accountability with the government. So obviously I'm going to court and putting the case forward that there is no contract between me and the council.
Well, do you understand that if you actually take that argument, by arguing with them, they don't care about the contract between you and the council anymore because you've contracted with the court?
Sure, but I would actually before I enter the court, I would ask to do so with all my natural, God-given and unalienable rights intact.
That will make no difference. No, that will make no difference, and I'll tell you why. Because the court case doesn't start until they say, Mr. Chris XYZ, and you go, yep, that's me. That's when the court case
I wouldn't say that, though. I would obviously be there with my birth certificate. I would say I am the lay advisor for the legal fiction whom you seek, known as Mr. Christopher Kettle.
And if they say, why are you here, what would you say?
Well, I would say, are you addressing me, sir? I would say, is it a civil court or criminal court?
Okay, but why? What I'm asking you is, why would you say you're there to represent the legal fiction? For what reason are you here?
I'm there because I'm acting as the lawful advisor,
sure,
the authorised representative.
So you've said, but why is what I'm asking you?
I have full power of attorney over that legal fiction.
Well, do you? You see, this is the thing. How do you know you do? You agree it's a government legal fiction, right?
Sure.
Well, then surely they have precedence over it. You don't, in other words.
They probably, yes, I would say they do own my legal fiction, absolutely, because
right, but
the act of registering it means that you hand over ownership of.
Right, see, when you say my legal fiction, you see, you don't have a legal fiction. They may have created a legal fiction, and they may allow you to use it, but it's not yours.
Sure,
right?
Okay.
And if you claim it, then they'll say, oh, you want this? Lovely, in you go to the hotel, and 3 meals a day and whatnot. And, as much sex as you can handle, but you won't like it. So what I'm trying to go through here with you is there's a little bit more to it. I mean, I from what you've said, I kind of pretty much know everything you've come across at this stage. But what they're doing in courts, there's another layer to it, you see.
Sure. So, I mean, there is something I'm willing to try tomorrow. And effectively, what the information I found out is that Bournemouth Borough Council hires out all of its revenue collection and housing benefit and everything to a private French company called Mouchel.
Yeah, that makes no odds, believe it or not. That makes no odds.
Well, I would say that under the Misrepresentation Act of 1967... Well,
hold on. Who's the misrepresentation to?
Well, these people are not going to be there on their oath, are they?
But they don't have to be when they're dealing with fictions, you see. Why would they have an oath of office when they're dealing with fiction?
Sure, so they're going to need... So there's surely going to be a civil case there then. They need a contract.
Yeah, and if you show up and you tell them you're there to represent the legal fiction, they're going to hold
No,
on.
I won't be there. I won't be standing.
What
So
I'm
I
saying-
won't be there to represent the legal fiction. I'm just simply a lay advisor for the legal fiction.
How are they going to know you're the lay advisor for the legal fiction?
I'm going to tell them I'm the lay advisor.
Okay, so you're going to make a statement, and they're going to say, okay, you're going to make a statement that you are the legal the legal advisor or the lay advisor for the legal fiction.
I'm the administrator for that account.
Okay, so you're going to claim administration status. They're going to take you and put you in contempt of court. At least, if I was a judge, I would be able to do that to you. I mean, what I have done...
Civil contempt or criminal contempt?
They'll already have you in contempt at that stage. It's too late once they get you. They'll just look at the guard and say, take them away.
Jurisdiction. How
They
can
have,
there
because this is the point I'm trying to make to you. You don't fully understand, I don't think, what subject matter jurisdiction is.
Sure.
And this is what I'm trying to explain to you now, and I've looked at this for a long time. Okay, so I'm trying to help you here.
Absolutely, I accept that. That's
Okay.
excellent.
Okay, so the way it works, it's very subtle. This is what I want to get across to everybody who's listening as well. It's very subtle. It's so subtle and it's so simple. You have to really think carefully. If you make a statement or a claim when you go in there, they will hold you, because you've entered, and they will hold you, your body, physically. They will hold you until they find a resolution. They may not, but they can do, and they have done so, and they are, they are more inclined to do so now. What I'm suggesting to you...
My understanding of it is that they simply hire a room down at the law courts and fill it with their own council staff. And under the Misrepresentation Act, they cannot act as a claimant and a magistrate at the same time.
They don't have to, because they're not. They're acting as an administrator. They're only acting as. They can put on 20 different hats. They can act as a doorman. They can act as anything they like in there. Once they're authorised by those above them, and they are. So it's not a problem for them. Most likely you'll probably be sitting in front of a sheriff. You just won't know it.
Right.
Interpleader. This is the point I'm trying to make. People haven't looked into this enough. There's an awful lot more goes on in these places than meets the eye. What I've been studying what these guys known as judges do. That's what I've been studying. And once you look at what these guys do and what the sheriffs do and how the whole thing is set up, you come to a different set of conclusions, you see. So if you go in there and say, I'm here as the lay advisor for that legal fiction. Now I know, for example, some guys have gotten away with that because the magistrates weren't fully up to speed.
But you think they are now?
Believe me, they're up to speed now. And they will start to take people because they do not want this to continue. And
How do you think I should approach this now then?
Well,
short notice.
Well, as I said, it's a short, sharp shock. But I mean, some of the stuff that Andy has told you about, are you addressing me? Example,
yes.
For example, that's the basic premise to begin with. I think in any interaction with anybody. I mean, for example, if you're standing in a room of 30 people and somebody starts calling out a name, and you think that guy maybe he is addressing me, maybe he's not. Maybe there's somebody else who uses the name Chris as well. You see, Chris is not your name, right? And the reason it's not your name...
as well to get joined, don't they?
Well, the reason Chris is not your name is because I know 100 guys that are thereabouts, and I could all ask them, is your name Chris? And they'll say, yeah.
I've got loads of nicknames. That's right.
No, I'm not asking about a nickname, but I'm saying there's loads of other guys out there who think their name is Christopher too, right? Well, you all can't be Christopher.
Sure.
Right. So somebody's lying, and you're standing in front of them, and they're going to go, it's you. You must be lying, because there's loads of other guys out there who, if we ask them, they'll say, it's Christopher.
So by asking them, are you addressing me, sir, you're kind of passing the onus on to them?
Well, I wouldn't even ask them to call him sir, but I would say, if somebody is calling out, hey, Chris, and I don't recognise them, I would keep it real simple and ask them, are you addressing me? If they say yes, who is addressing me?
How would you approach entering the courtroom? Because obviously this is assuming you're inside the courtroom.
Well,
would you do it with the approach that I mentioned and say, sir, before we enter the court,
No.
duty with our God-given and unalienable rights intact.
No.
Would you say that before you go in?
No, I'll tell you why not. Because my God-given and inalienable rights are always intact. Always. Even if somebody is beating the shit out of me, my rights and my God-given and inalienable rights.
Don't need to declare them, sure. Yeah.
They exist. Right?
So how would you go about entering the courtroom?
Well,
just walk on in?
I don't call it a courtroom, but if I need to go somewhere, I just go there. If they call something, and I think maybe perhaps they might possibly, you never know, want to talk to me, I might walk up and say, "Are you addressing me?" No, I wouldn't have a problem with that. And if they say, "Oh well, who are you?" or "Are you Mr. Such and Such?" Well, are you addressing me?
Okay.
If they say yes, who is addressing me? If they don't answer you, or if they start reading out charges, you wait until you get an answer as to who is addressing you. You don't. It's like a game.
Do you not need to prove at all that you've attended the courtroom?
Well, we haven't got even anywhere near there yet.
Okay.
So, it's the way this works is it's a game of chess. If I'm playing you in a game of chess or checkers, right, and you take a move, if I take 2 moves, you're going to complain, right? Hey, what the hell are you doing? You've just taken 2 moves. So it's you take a move, I take a move. You take a move, I take a move. But let's say before we play this game of drafts or chess, you know the way some guys, they like to put their hand on the piece and they slide it forward and slide it across, and then they slide it back and slide it back. They don't take their hand off it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they start talking about, oh, well, read out the charges, officer, do this, do that, do the other, that's what they're doing. They're just sliding the pieces around, but they're not taking their hands off them, and they just keep sliding them back. You think they're taking a move, but they're not. Until they respond appropriately to what you've asked them, you don't take the next move. I don't care if you have to stand there staring at the guy for an hour. If he looks at you and says, you know, blah blah blah, charges, whatever, say, sorry, who is addressing me? I need to know who you are. Who is addressing me?
And you literally don't go any further than that point. Just literally, are you addressing me? And they'll never be able to go any further, will they?
Well, if they say, yes, I'm addressing you, then your next move, of course, is, well, who is addressing me? And if they don't tell you who they are, well, you don't move. No matter what happens after that, you say, who are you, please? Who are you? He will then say, I'm Justice of the Peace, Judge, Sheriff, Interpleader, blah blah blah, whatever, and he might then start a motion to the officer read out the charges, all in the same breath. He might even say to the clerk, take a note of this, clerk, officer, read the charges, you at the back, shut that door now, Mr. X. You see, he might throw it all together. They like to do this. And you see, you might then think, oh crap, now what do I do? Whereas I would say, under God, so help me God, that is your oath. Now we have a binding contract. Because he used the magic word.
Under God, so help me God. Now we have a binding contract. That's all I said.
No, that is your oath, is what I said. Now we have a binding contract. Now the reason for that is because he used what I call the magic word. And it is a magic word, the magi word. He used the magistrate word, or he used the judge word, or justice of the peace. Now, once he does that, he's telling you he's a judge of a situation. Now, I happen to know for them to be in that position, he had to take an oath, and it was under God. And if he's wearing a turban on his head, and if he thinks, well, I didn't because it's not my religion, blah, 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 then he's lying to himself, because he's sitting there under Her Majesty's oath of coronation when she took her oath, the coronation oath 1953, under the Queen. And her oath is under God. So he's under her oath covers his ass too, believe me. So whether they personally made an oath to God or not, that's irrelevant. She did, they work for her, hers is covering them. So I'm going to tell him, by saying that, I'm accepting his oath. And I'm letting him know, and I'm holding him to it.
Okay.
It's real simple.
Just about taking that on board.
Well, as I said, it's simple because
this is new information to me, so it's.
Well, we've spoken about this many times here on TNS Radio.
Sure, again, I've only recently heard of your station tonight.
Right. Well, look, I mean, you see, I understand people I understand people have come across a lot of other information on a lot of other sites, and I'm not knocking any of that information. I'm really not. It's just we have had a chance to kick this information around quite a bit. You know, we have bounced it off the four walls, as they say, and we've thrown it in the corner, left it sitting for a bit, and picked it up and looked at it and turned it inside out. We've used
John, just
logic.
You're aware I'm in England, and that's no difference.
No, I don't care if you're in Japan.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's the same. Right?
But you've been most helpful. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Well, again, I'm not telling you what to do.
I'll be tuning in a lot more now. I'm a member and everything else. And absolutely.
Well, what I'd say to you is I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just explaining it to you.
It's good to hear of more people that are out there that know, as it were, because sometimes you feel quite alone. You know, it's over here in the UK. I don't think there's many people awake. You know.
Well, the point I'm making to here is they may, you know, as I said, I'm not giving you advice here. I'm just telling you this is the way I see it. This is how I see the situation clearly in my mind. Because why take a step forward when it's not your turn? When it's his turn, it's a game of tennis. He hits to you, you hit back. He hits back, you hit back. Right? You don't let him. You don't let somebody in tennis hit the ball twice. Right? They hit the ball once, then it's your turn. So if he hits the ball and then he runs over to the umpire and he manages to get a cup of tea or a cup of, you know, I don't know what the hell they drink, barley water or whatever, and he talks to the linesman before you get a chance to hit the ball back to him, that's nothing got to do with you. You've hit the ball back, he now has to hit it back to you. Whatever he gets done in the meantime is irrelevant. Right? That's not part of the tennis game. That might be distracting for you, but it's not part of the tennis game. The game, if you will, is between you and the guy in the high chair. That's it. So if he does the whole, officer, read the charges or whatever, fine, let him. Or read the complaint, whatever. Or, well, complaint, they don't generally make complaints. But if they did, I would say, well, I didn't hear a complaint. Unless you've actually hurt somebody. In which case, you're in deep doo-doo if you've actually hurt somebody, but that's because you've broken the law, right? So you should be in deep doo-doo.
I'm a peaceful being. There's never been any risk of that.
No, the reason I'm kind of going through this is I think some people do get confused about this. I think some people there's a lot of information on a lot of other sites out there.
Yes.
We tend not to put this information on the site, believe it or not. We tend to generally have kind of private conversations with each other at the meetups and whatnot, and we tend to spread this way as opposed to blasting it out like I'm doing now on the radio. But I'm doing it for a reason. I think it's important people engage logic and reason, and if somebody can come up with a more logical, more reasoned approach than I've just explained the way I think about it, please let me know. If there's something even simpler out there, and I want to know about it, because I always aim for absolute simplicity in these matters.
Sure, I mean the spiel I've got in front of me of all the things I've been trying to memorise, you know, just to make sure I've got it clear in my head. You know, it's 2 pages long.
Yeah, well, you don't need any of that, most likely.
You know, I'm looking at a far simpler solution, really, right in front of me. I know it's last minute, but it makes sense, and I'm prepared to try something new.
Well, I'll put it this way. I mean, there's a YouTube video up on TNS Radio on YouTube. Guys, anybody else listening, go to TNS Radio. I think it's TNS Radio. Yeah, YouTube/user TNS Radio Ireland is the YouTube channel, and there's a video on there where a guy, I think it was last Monday, I think he went into the court or into a room with people, whatever you want to call it. We call it court for the sake of conversation. And they asked him, Mr. Garda such and such versus Dave Carney, and a man leaned forward or motioned to them. He said, "Are you addressing me?" And they looked him in the eye again. They said, "Dave Carney, is it?" Not "are you?" They said, "Is it?" And he said, "Are you addressing me?" And they stood up and they left. So he left.
Okay.
It was that simple.
That was literally it. That was the end of the case.
Game over.
Okay.
So, you see, me, when I say me, when you say me is your flesh and blood. Now, if they're talking to legal fictions or whatever,
I'm doing that.
See, that's not you, right?
It's my physical body, yeah.
I mean, if I were to show you a photograph and I say, "Is that you in the photograph?"
No.
Well, you see, now you're causing a dispute because you're saying no. You see? Because I'm going to say, well, it looks like you.
I'd have to physically point at myself and say that this is me.
That's better. But, you know, there's another way of doing it. Yeah, well, yeah, sure. Or you might say maybe, well, if you think that's me, ask it a question and see if it responds.
See if it replies, or is it stationary?
There you go. Listen, I think Andy wants to come back in, and I got to go do some stuff anyway, so I'm going to drag Andy back in here.
Thank you very much, Vincent.
No problem, you're more than welcome. Well, hopefully that'll give you something to think about.
Absolutely.
And Andy asked me to pull him back in, and now he says he's busy. What's going on, Andy?
I'll certainly be looking at that court video, because that intrigues me.
It's very hard to hear it.
Because I'm obviously very young, and I've only been awake for a year.
Right.
There's a lot of information.
Well, can I ask you, what is it? A council tax thing?
It is, yes. It's non-payment of council tax, and I've not sent them any notice or anything like that.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
Just wondering, also, a quick question: is there anything I need to present to the court, or what do I do when I turn up at the court? Is there anything I need to particularly say?
Well, I think we just pretty much went through that. We went through what I'd say.
just when I turn up to say that I'm actually here at the court.
Right, trying to call Andy again. Are you there, Andy?
Yeah, I'm there, man.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. Sorry, have I lost you, Chris?
No, you haven't lost me. No.
Okay. Sorry, you're hitting the red lines here. I don't know if the sound's okay. So, well, look, explain to me then. I mean, how much? What sort of a council tax bill are we talking about here? If we were to count ducks for a minute.
Well, basically, the bottom line is I've never contracted with them. I've never agreed a repayment plan. The figure's sort of around 400 quid, but obviously they're going to add all their stupid costs on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably looking at 600 quid, 700 quid.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm pretty much aware that there's not really going to be a prison sentence involved. A worst case scenario.
Oh, they might.
No,
I would say what my understanding of it is that they hire the courts themselves and they fill it with their own staff. So they actually haven't got the authority. They haven't got an oath of office to actually have the authority to make that sort of judgment. Am I wrong there?
If you grant them subject matter jurisdiction, then they do. And you see, what I'm saying to you is what I say to a lot of people: if you haven't boned up and studied very precisely what subject matter jurisdiction is, then you will grant it to them, in which case you can kick and scream all you like, they will drag you.
Yeah, I explained that to a little bit earlier about subject matter stuff. Obviously, he's coming at the last minute, so it's going to be tough to gen up on all that before tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Chris, mate, as I said before, my wife's in the same hearing as you, mate, but she won't be there because, well, she's not that person, is she? So she won't be there. But I'm more than prepared to meet you earlier on, a couple of hours earlier on, go through some stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Andy, you'd already gone through a lot of this stuff with Chris, had you?
Oh, well, I literally saw it on the Skype. Someone said, look, help needed. Chris is going in. And I just thought, well, and then I realised, okay, it's just crazy. I realised that my wife's got the same flipping summons for the same day. We just brushed it under the carpet. We did what we do on TNS. We just sent it back, return to sender.
Well,
no
what I just
contract,
say is, in relation to the guys on the chat box there saying legs of the table being crash course on the legs of the table, the 4 legs and whatnot of subject matter jurisdiction.
Oh, 4 legs, yeah. I mean, if you don't give them the subject matter, they ain't got the 4 legs.
Yeah.
But it's so easy. I mean, for instance, I said to Chris earlier, I was in last year for a mortgage case, and I think I was doing okay. And then the judge suddenly said to me, "Where's Mrs. Thornley today?" And I answered him, and by stupidly answering him, I recognised the fact that Mrs. Thornley existed, and there you go, bang, you've given him the subject matter. That's how easy it is. He could say, "What's that in your pocket?" "Oh, it's a handkerchief." Bang. That's your subject matter.
Yeah, if he says, "What time is it?" and you say 3 o'clock, boom, you're gone.
Yep, you're done. It could be nothing to do with the case, and he don't care, because he's been trained in subject matter. He's been trained in jurisdiction, whether you're innocent or whether you're guilty. Like, if I say to you,
well, that's what they don't ask you if you're innocent or guilty, right?
Chris owes me 10 grand, right? So Chris owes me 10 grand, so I take him to court, and he'll say, Chris, do you owe this man 10 grand? If you say yes or no, you've had it, because you've recognised the fact that there's a 10 grand debt.
So your response, your appropriate response, Andy, would be
something along the lines of, I'm unsure as to whether I can make a legal determination. So that question.
Nice, I like it.
Sweet. Yeah, shame I didn't do that bloody 12 months ago, mate.
Know? Would you say, well, yeah, I know, or maybe perhaps, well, I don't know?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know. And you're making the allegation, Judge. You tell me.
Now, why don't you know? Huh?
Well, because I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. How simple is that? You see, what happens is you actually don't get put into prison for what you don't know. You actually get put into prison for what you do know.
You convict yourself.
That's it. It's the conviction. You're convinced. Ergo, you're a convict. You now carry a conviction. It's in your mind. Folks, it's 11:15 and I'm going to hit the hay. So I'm going to finish up. Any last things you want to go through quickly?
No, I just want to say to Chris, I mean, hopefully I'll see Chris tomorrow and give him a hand down there. But
that would be good. Most appreciated.
Just listen, mate. Just think about a spider's web, yeah? Just stay in the middle of that web and do not budge. Because that judge will do, or whether they do it wittingly or unwittingly, I don't know. But they will try and pull you off point. They might say, why are your shoelaces undone? Or something ridiculous to pull you off point of where you are. And then as soon as they pull you off point, you're going to forget where you were going. You're going to forget your track.
It's just a mind game. Listen,
it's a mind game, mate, yeah.
Thanks very much. I appreciate everything. This was a Financial Frontline on TNS Radio on Thursday night. Me on radio again. I'm going to start putting in for overtime here.
Yeah, too right.
Okay, listen, Ewok has cut us off. Tomorrow night will be hopefully Brian and Chris. Thanks for that. Sorry, Chris, is there anything you wanted to just add in before you went?
No, I just wanted to thank you for your time, that's all.
No problem, you're more than welcome.
Well, there's £50 an hour, mate.
No problem.
Okay, good night.
Well, listen, we'll come on tomorrow then just for a quickie and tell you how it went, mate.
Please do. What time roughly will you reckon you'll get out?
Well, I don't know, we're in there at 2, aren't we, Chris?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. All right, lads.
Shame, mate. Hey, Chris, you haven't got a dongle, have you, Chris?
I haven't got a what, sorry?
Talk about that off-air, lads, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no sweat.
Cheers, bye.
See ya.